Good afternoon. Welcome to the Bulletin channel. Thank you for joining us once again. As you all know, the last few days here in Bethel, we've seen some upheaval with the residents taking matters into their own hands. We've had strikes in Mzanoni. We've had legal action that's starting to take place with the GMM, and we've had some tires burning and the roads blocked the other night. In 17, the road to Carolina, all the roads were blocked. And with me I have Hilda Pretorius, that's the spokesperson for this group, and I'm not exactly sure what we call you at this stage. I know it's Peaceful Protest Group?
Peaceful Protest Action.
Okay, that is Peaceful Protest Action. I'm going to ask Hilda a few questions on what happened. Hilda, give us a background first, because this is very important. We've had big problems. I know that we suffer with the NMD, the notified maximum demand, but there's some other problems as well. The main one I know is electricity. All right, let's leave the electricity out for the time being. Okay. Let's just sketch the background of what's happened in the past.
Intia, thank you for having me here and giving me the opportunity to speak to you on behalf of the Peaceful Protest Action in Bethel. First of all, let's start talking about the refuse removal. We're having huge problems in Bethel with regards to refuse not being collected, although we're paying for it every single month. The dumping site is a huge mess.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt every once in a while. I want to say, I will try and add a video on the dumping site. We've been there. When we travel into Bethel, we travel through their dumping site.
Yes.
Now I know at one stage they said they're going to start fixing it. They fixed it, then they stopped again. And I spoke to one of the supervisors a while ago, and they said they're starting on Monday, which is 2 or 3 weeks ago, and still nothing has happened with that.
Yes.
And we also have, and I want to point this out, we even have the clinic throwing medical waste into the veld and not into the dumping site as well. So it's a huge mess.
It's a huge mess, and it's also a huge hygiene risk.
Yeah.
So in the meeting we had with the MM and the mayor, it was Wednesday evening, that was one of the subjects that were brought up, and we offered that should they have a problem in not being able to do it themselves, that they reach out to the community of Bethel for help. I mean, this is our town, it's everybody's town, it's everybody's dumping site, so we can help where we're allowed to help, because I know they have contractors in place, so we can't just bulldoze our way in there and start cleaning the place up, because there are contractors that have been contracted by Governor Mbeki to clean the place up, but there have been problems with payment to these contractors.
There's something that I have to interject here as well, but this is something I want to bring to everybody else's attention. When you take your rubbish to the dumping site, there's a lot of people waiting next to the road.
That's right.
Don't let them take your rubbish off there.
Yeah.
Because you exacerbating the problem.
That's correct.
Stay away from that.
Yes.
Okay, but there's other problems as well. I've done something on sewer before as well. There's sewer problems.
There's sewer problems in Bethel. There's sewer leakages. There's sewer leakages in Bethel. There's a huge big sewer leakage in Mzanoni. It's been there for literally years, and it hasn't been cleaned up. Nothing's been done about it.
Now, one of the acts that we have, I'm not exactly sure which one, we'll try and find that out, but one of the acts I have says that they have to do a 48 hours, they have to sort out a problem, a leakage into the river as well. But that's not happening.
They don't listen, they don't do anything about it. Nothing has been taken seriously. None of the problems in Bethel are being taken seriously.
Now, all of these other problems, because I know there's a lot. I know there's pothole problems.
Huge pothole problems, yes.
You and I laughed when I spoke to you because there's a pothole that the grass grows in.
Yes.
Close to the dam. Actually close where those two people that were murdered found. It's very close to that spot.
Yes.
There's this big, huge pothole with tall grass growing in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we have at the moment. And then we get to the electricity problem.
Yes.
And we're not even talking about water supply, because I mean that will get our blood up as well. But now we're talking about the electricity problem.
Yes.
All right. What has Bethel experienced up to now?
Bethel has experienced huge problems with regards to electricity. It's been going on for years now. We'll have electricity and all of a sudden it'll be off, and then we'll get told that it's due to a breakdown, and then the breakdown takes hours, sometimes literally 2-3 days to be fixed. And this is not acceptable because, first of all, we need communication from Governor Mbeki informing us that there's a breakdown, the electricity will be off for an estimated period of time. We understand that sometimes that estimated period of time cannot always be held to because of non-delivery of items that they need, or they're out of stock of items that they need. It's been a problem for a long time, and it's been escalating and escalating and escalating. And then in December last year, if my information is correct, Eskom decided that they were no longer going to allow Bethal to exceed the NMD, because when Governor Mbeki exceeds the NMD, Governor Mbeki actually pays a fine for exceeding that NMD. So that adds to the current debt situation that there is between Governor Mbeki and Eskom. So Eskom has now said, okay, this is it. We're not supplying you with any more megawatts over the NMD because it's adding to your debt, so we're cutting that. And as a result of that, Eskom has forced Governor Mbeki to implement rotational load shedding. This became forceful when the lockdown occurred.
Let me just explain the NMD. A lot of people don't understand it's a notified maximum demand.
That's correct.
Now, how it works is that when you buy in bulk, you say to Eskom, we think that we're going to use a certain amount of
right.
I don't know the figures, I'm not going to sound clever because I'm going to make a mistake. So they give you a block like this, and that you stay within that. Now, what normally happens is when there's this cold spell, for an instance, you would exceed that, the notified maximum demand. Now, the problem also, the notified maximum demand also came about within the lockdown, where most businesses were closed.
That's correct.
And then they still maintain that Bethal has
we were
surpassed
exceeding
it.
the NMD, yes.
So that is basically the problem. And there's some other problems. Why would they not lift this up? You know that there's been some talk on this, and you've been in contact with them as well.
That's correct. Well, first of all, I just want to get back to the situation with the NMD. When Eskom and Governor Mbeki negotiated the NMD, Governor Mbeki actually didn't do their homework. And I'm sorry, and this is a sad fact, but it has to be mentioned. Bethal has grown, it has expanded. Our Mzanoni section has grown in 2-3 times its size. We have an extension 23 that is now growing. Our town itself has grown. So that means our NMD the amount of our NMD should have been lifted, and this was never done. They never went back to Eskom and said, we now have to increase our NMD. We have to renegotiate our NMD. This was never, ever done. So we stuck using an NMD that was decided on years ago.
When the town was still small.
Yeah. So this is now causing a huge problem, because here Eskom actually has us by the, I don't know how to say that.
All right. We don't want to be held. All right. But now the other problem with this whole thing is it started to escalate even worse. Now the problems of now, Eskom had some load shedding, you had the NMD that you had to surpass, and you had breakdowns.
We've had breakdowns.
So it accumulated in this big problem where most of the times you didn't have electricity, and certain areas only.
In certain areas it was down much longer than in other areas as well. This we've identified as well.
But I want to ask you something. We're going to get to what the other night's problem, but when people switch on and when they come in and they rectify the problems, I heard that in Darfur Road, I think it's Darfur Road, the one house caught fire because of electrical incorrect electrical connections.
That's correct.
All right, and then there were some other people also that suddenly said after they've worked, their house is now electrified and they can, you know, they can feel the
There's been a lot of
electricity.
that going on lately, where it almost feels as if the earth leakage connected to the houses is not efficient because of, I don't know if it's a spike going through the house or exactly what is causing this at the moment, but it seems to be something on the poles up there where the connections are not 100% correct.
And then I've seen some videos where the light goes like a disco.
Yes, where the lights
The
in
street
Bethal,
lights.
the street lights in Bethal actually go on and off like a disco. It's
Right.
unbelievable. You actually have to see
So
it.
what we are telling people is that there's problems.
There's huge
problems
problems.
with electricity, and it doesn't look like it's actually being addressed. That's I think part of it.
That's correct.
And then this whole thing culminated into, I think it was Monday and Tuesday night, or
Yes.
Sunday and Monday night. I can't remember the
It
exact.
was Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, where some of the electricians, and I'm going to let you explain this to me, but some electricians, according to all our information, held the town hostage, if I can call it
That's
that.
correct.
All right. Tell me about that.
It came to our attention, and also in a conversation that I had with our where he explained to me that the electricity was not being put back on. There were certain areas in our town that was on, and certain areas in our town that were off. And the areas that were on would stay on, but the areas that were off would stay off, because the electricians were not returning to the station where the electricity gets put on and off, because their overtime had not been signed off by, according to the he said that they were asking for exorbitant fees for their overtime. And then it later came to our attention that the had actually just not signed off on the overtime.
Okay, but they can't ask exorbitant prices,
yeah,
because it's a negotiated thing.
Exactly, it's a pre-negotiated thing. And
So that was Monday night.
yes.
Tuesday night,
Yeah.
the community, this thing started to grow, because
thing
Tuesday
started-
night,
yeah,
this peaceful action actually really got going.
it really got going.
Okay, and you guys got together.
We got the town. I'm not going to say we, because it wasn't just we, but the whole town got together.
Yeah.
Bethel stood together. And the protest actions were repeated on Tuesday evening, because the electricity was once again not put on by the electricians.
Okay, and you were told that the process might be repeated because
again.
if there's another
Yes.
problem as well.
If the electricians on overtime is not signed off.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to say, but this is not acceptable. We cannot be held hostage by the electricians who are employed by Governor Mbeki. We cannot be held hostage by Governor Mbeki and Eskom and the electricians working for them. Our town can't survive this.
I just want to ask something about the general feeling between all the residents of Bethel and towards Eskom and the trucks going through town. Because apart from the trucks damaging the road,
Yes.
that is coal-bearing trucks, if I can
That's
call it
correct,
that.
yes.
I know that a number of people have said, let us disrupt that so that Eskom can also come to the
Block,
party.
yes.
All right. What is your stance on that one?
NZ, the people of Bethel are very unhappy with the coal trucks moving through Bethel. It's damaging the road surfaces in Bethel. They're using our town as a thoroughfare to get their coal to all the coal mines and everything like that. That in itself should award us some kind of leniency from Eskom, and that's not happening at all.
Okay. Now let us just then now go to what do we want, because we know what the problem is. We know that. And then one thing I wanted to ask is, and then on Wednesday night you actually spoke to the mayor. The mayor came
Yes.
down, which is a little bit unexpected.
Yes.
Yeah. And she came. I do think that the police played a role in that one, because the police.
It was amazing. We had a policeman in Bethel. I don't know if I could mention his name here. He might not like that. But he orchestrated this meeting with the mayor and the and the council members. And for that we are very grateful, because we could put a lot of questions on the table and ask answers for. Hopefully we're going to get answers. But I do not have any faith in this at all.
So what was the general feeling after that meeting?
The general feeling after the meeting was it was one baby step that had fallen into place, but the general feeling is we don't trust it.
Okay. What is the next step?
The next step is we're asking NERSA to intervene with immediate effect. NERSA has informed us that it could take 120 days to find a resolution between Governor Mbeki and Eskom. The problem that we have with Eskom and Governor Mbeki is that the trust between them has deteriorated, where Eskom does not want to negotiate with Governor Mbeki anymore. And that is where Khatsabandi has got to play a major role to try and get the trust re-established between them, to renegotiate a new payment plan, to uplift the NMD, to make a payment of 90 million rand, of which only 12 million has so far been paid. So those are the steps that we're hoping will get into place as soon as possible, and that NERSA can really do something about this. Because if NERSA doesn't come to the table, I don't know what we're going to do.
I've heard calls of Bethal moving out of Governor Mbeki. Is that
We'd
part
love
of
that.
Is that part of your
Yes.
demands as well?
That's part of our demands. We would actually like Governor Mbeki to leave Bethal to operate on their own, have their own municipality, to receive the funds for electricity, to receive the funds for everything as a whole, its own municipality, and that we ask that we actually get our electricity directly from Eskom. In other words, that we do not go through a municipality anymore.
Hilda, let me ask you this. If this doesn't improve,
Yes.
what is your next steps? I'm not talking about the guys doing the legal route and all those. I'm
Yes.
talking about your peaceful protest group. What is the next steps?
I actually want to make a call on all the women of Bethal and Mzanoni. I want to orchestrate a march, because at the end of the day, the women in this town are the ones that are the homekeepers, are the ones that have to provide meals for their families, are the ones that have to see that children's homework gets done, run the homes and everything like that. And we're unable to do all of this. And if you think about this logically, we now are in a situation where all the children are going back to school on Monday. That leaves us in a situation where if there is no electricity, how do those children do their homework? They can't do their homework in the dark. So that means that we're going back to years gone by, where the children are going to be doing their homework according to using gas lamps, paraffin lamps, candles, generators, stuff like that. That's the other problem that we're having at the moment, NC, is that people are paying their current electrical accounts that they are being billed, plus they have to go and have additional costs to be able to buy fuel for their generators and everything like that. So not only Bethal and the people of Bethal and Mzanoni are suffering financially hugely because of, I almost want to put it very bluntly and say, because of the incompetence of Governor Mbeki, not handling the financial matters correctly, and because of the way that they've done everything, they're not suffering. The people who are paying customers are suffering.
Now, I'm going to put you on a pedestal here quickly. Mm-hmm. If you want to join the march, I'm going to include Hilda's telephone number. I haven't asked her, but I'm sure that I may.
You may.
I'm going to add a telephone number on this, somewhere in the link below or on our screen. Contact her if you want to become part of this march. I think it's a great idea to do that. All right. So the other, there's a few other problems as well. Mm-hmm. I know that we're trying to get some sort of schedule out, and they've promised you that. First of all, after Wednesday, have they supplied you anything? Did they actually act on any of the promises that they made?
No, nothing. I believe that there was a meeting that the had with Rand Water. The correspondence that I got from him with regards to that meeting was that it went very well. The throttling of the water was not discussed in the meeting, and that they have to draft up a letter on Monday and send it through to Rand Water to renegotiate a new payment plan. That was the correspondence I got back with regards to the water. With regards to Eskom, the meeting didn't take place.
Okay. But any promises they made to you?
The schedule.
There's a schedule problem that
the schedule,
need to be addressed as
when
well.
we discussed the schedule in the meeting on Wednesday evening, we asked for a schedule for when the electricity would be on and off. That would allow everybody in Bethel to plan around those schedules. It seemed to me in the meeting that they were concerned about supplying us with a schedule because they were saying that if there was a breakdown, the people in Bethel would hold them to the schedule and they would apply pressure and say, but you said the electricity would be on, now it's not on, and that was a crisis for them.
But you understand the breakdown.
But what we want the council to understand is that Bethel residents understand what a breakdown is and understand that a schedule cannot be held ransom to a breakdown.
Yeah.
So what we're asking for out of desperation is please supply us with a schedule. I cannot stress this more urgently. I mean, obviously, explain to me how the electricians are putting the electricity on and off now if they are not working to a schedule that they already have. I mean, if they didn't have a schedule, it would mean that they're putting the electricity off randomly and according to their own will, instead of working with a schedule. So that doesn't make sense to me if they say they haven't got a schedule.
Yeah, as far as I know, there is no schedule at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one problem. And you said something about correspondence as well.
This basically brings us back to the issue of correspondence. This is all about, it's so easy to send a message to a designated person and say, you know what, these are the hiccups that we are experiencing at the moment, we've got a breakdown here, or something like that. We can inform the public and say, guys, please, your electricity is going to be off in that area. There's a WhatsApp we're sending through, there is a breakdown. Just keep everybody informed. It takes one WhatsApp.
Yeah.
That's all. Correspondence. Let the people know what's going on in their town.
There you have it. Bethel is in problems. Bethel is beleaguered at the moment and besieged with electricity problems.
It's terrible.
And the worst part is we don't see any how can I say, improvement in the near future. There's promises made that at the moment already looks like it's not being kept, as far as I could see. We'll keep you updated. Hilda, thank you very much for speaking to me.
Thank you for having me.
We said 5-10 minutes. I think we've done it quite a long one, so that's great. We're gonna do the whole one. Thank you for watching the Bulletin. We'll bring you more news as it happens.